how's it going? My name's Luke Dooley. I come to you from Cincinnati, Ohio, and man, I am super excited about this conversation. This is welcome to Banded Roundtable called Father First. So, Banded is a community of business owners and entrepreneurs all across the country that are simply fighting for spaces where we can live wholeheartedly, where we can show up with peers that are other business owners who are trying to do life in a way where, man, we lead well and we live well. We're doing it with our whole hearts, where we're looking at our inner life and our relational life and our vocational stories, and we're going, how do we balance all this and how do we do it well? And so we've developed this idea of a banded code, and the code are these themes that kind of drive us forward as the kind of leaders that we want to be. And number two on our banded code is this idea of family first. And the notion here is that home is where the legacy begins. You can kind of see a little glimpse of that there. And so we couldn't think of a better first topic to have on a banded roundtable. It's our very first one we've ever done. So thanks for those of you that are watching this and jumping on. We couldn't think of a better first topic than this idea of family first. So again, my name is Luke Dooley. I'm a father in Cincinnati, Ohio. I have three kiddos. I have two daughters that are ages 10 and 8 and a son that just turned 5. So we're right in the throes of it. And I'm super excited about this conversation and everyone that's going to be joining us over the next 58 minutes or so. So first I want to bring in my buddy and my co-founder of Banded, Ben Hardman. Ben, what's up, bud?
Hey man, I felt like that music was so anticlimactic. It was like this epic intro and this countdown, and then it was just me and you like smiling awkwardly.
We're not epic.
Yeah. Sorry that it wasn't more epic or anything more exciting than just me and Luke at the end of that. But I'm excited about this conversation. I'm excited about Father's Day. I mean, I know you and I, Luke, were both super passionate about the integration of living a wholehearted life, which means I don't just live a work life. I don't just have a spiritual life. I don't just have a family life. I integrate all of those together. And I really try and lean into that John 10:10, an abundant life, a full life, a good life, that's not just something that's promised to us, but it's something that's available to us. And so for both of us, I know that this topic is huge. My kids are a little older. I'm in a different stage of life than you. I've got a 23-year-old son, a 20-year-old son, and a 16-year-old daughter. So I'm in that like kind of teenage, college, a little bit of post-college kind of life with them, kind of transitioning from just being like a dictator to them to being like a friend, and like learning how to let them live their own lives, all of those kinds of things. But it's super fun. And I'm excited about the panel that we've got today. We've got three amazing banded members who are going to join us.
Are you excited about Father's Day week?
I'm very excited about Father's Day week. What are you doing? What's the plan for this weekend?
Well, it's going to be fun. I got a little bit of golf planned with some buddies, some of my closest friends. We're going to get some holes in. It's going to be fun. And then on Father's Day, we'll do church that morning. And then as the calendar gods, the sports calendar gods would have it, my daughter, who's 10, she plays flag football. And she loves it. She's super into flag football, and they graced us with a doubleheader and pictures. And so we have two flag football games and team photos and all the things that come along with all that. And so that's pretty much what Father's Day will look like.
Oh man. So at the ball fields,
Yeah. I help coach the team with one of our other banded members, my good friend Matthew, and it's going to be a ton of fun, actually.
Yeah. We'll have to, on a future episode, show you and Matthew's pregame rituals, because I think that's worthy of attention also.
Well, we make epic moments.
It's the most overdone youth football thing ever.
Hey,
amazing.
We want to make moments and make memories. And one of our guests, Joey, that's going to be on later, he's great at making moments and memories with his kids, specifically around their birthdays. We're going to get to that, but it's epic. It's smoke bombs and Raiders flags and eye paint. And we go all out. So that's what Father's Day weekend will be.
Yeah. So my boys, and remember, my boys are 20 and 23, so I'm not. These aren't preschoolers. We got tickets to the UFC event this weekend in Atlanta, and so we're going to watch Kamaru Usman fight Joaquin Buckley. We're going to go and get a little rowdy and hang out there. I'm super excited about that. If you haven't been to a UFC event, I don't know that I recommend it. It's an interesting culture and an interesting world, but it's going to be fun and it's a good boys' time. And then next weekend, I'm taking all my kids fishing. So we're going fly fishing up in northern Georgia on a river here with a guide. I realized I've never taken my daughter fishing. And so it'll be like the first time I've ever done that with her. So
Dude,
she's super pumped about that and excited about it. So it's going to be fun.
I love that. I love the kind of dad you are. You're modeling well right here. I got it right here. Number 7 on our banded code: pursue adventure and rest. You're gonna
Yeah.
knock that out over the next couple
Yeah,
weeks.
man. Adventures with the kids, making memories.
You might need some rest after all that adventure, is what I'm
Yeah,
going
I'll
to say.
take it. I'll
Hey,
take
let's
it.
get our guys on here, man. Let's bring on these guests.
Uh, hey, look at that.
Awesome.
Welcome,
Sweet.
guys. Welcome, guys. We're super excited to have you. These guys are 3 banded members who are amazing leaders who are leading high capacity things, but also are really great dads. And so let's start with you, Mike. Mike, you're in Atlanta. You got that beautiful skyline behind you. That's
Right.
not a virtual background. We already been through that. Tell us what you do, Mike, and tell us a little bit about your family.
Yes. Yeah. Good to meet you all. Mike Davis. I'm here in the heart of the South, Atlanta, Georgia, here in Midtown. I work with a company called Scotland Wright Associates. I'm one of the owners, and we do commercial real estate brokerage, and I lead our office team. And then some of my colleagues lead the industrial and land team there. I'm married. My wife's name is Chrissy. She's amazing. We've been married for a little over 6 years now, and we've got 2 little ones, a daughter who is 5, headed into kindergarten this year, and a son who will be 3 in August. So still in those kind of early phases of fatherhood. So excited to share, but I'm excited to learn. So thanks for having me.
So glad you're here, Mike. Joey, tell us about your work and your family.
Yeah, Joey Haselmayer. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. I technically, well, that's not true. Technically, I am the owner of 3 different businesses here. One is a corporate event space. We serve Fortune 100, 500 companies that want to get off site and find a space to have strategic planning sessions, consumer research, any reason to get off site. We serve them for that. We have 3 locations in Cincinnati, which is super cool. And then I have an online retail goods company that my wife and I started that is kind of the child of an online education platform and community and podcast that we host. So those 3 things kind of running together. And then I have 4 children. I have a 14-year-old daughter. I have a 9-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old daughter, and a 7-month-year-old son. So kind of the gambit here. Not at Ben's stage yet. I don't know that they'll
Spreading
get
them
to.
out, though. You're spreading them out so that you'll be in
Yeah,
that for a really long time. That's,
just love diapers.
that's great. Lee, tell us about yourself, bud.
Yeah, Lee Mitchell out of Atlanta. I'm married to my wife Davis, have been for 23 years. And we have 4 kids, age 20, 18, 16, and 9. I'm in a second generation family business. I've been doing that for 27 years, uh, called Applied Catalyst. I'm in the process of rolling out a startup underneath the family business umbrella. And so that will be a venture holding company for industrial technologies. And so it's after doing something for a long time, it's a pivot, but still with the brothers and still busy, but doing very different things. So it's pretty exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So glad that you guys are here.
That's awesome. Hey, so man, guys, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for taking the time to dive into this. I know obviously you're busy. We just heard you're busy at home, you're busy at work, you're running businesses or multiple businesses and lots of kids running around and spouses you're caring for. And man, that's awesome. And that's why we're here, is to talk about this tension and this balancing act of sort of leading in business and going, man, how do I be fully present and fully alive at home? How do I live that John 10:10 life that Ben referenced, right? There's this really cool thing happening in the world of golf. I love golf. I've recently kind of become re-obsessed with it after like a decade-long gap in my life. And there's this cool thing happening in the world of golf right now with Scotty Scheffler, where he's just sort of like transcendent. He's just so good. It's crazy. And he's won 3 times on tour this year. and he's really like connected to fans because I think he comes across as a really real guy. He's way better than everyone in the world on the golf course, but for some reason he just feels like one of us. He like lives in Dallas with his family. He's got this wonderful wife and this awesome kiddo, and he talks about playing golf with his buddies, like just when he's not golfing and just hanging out and just doing normal stuff. And there's no better picture of him being like one of us than when he won the Memorial Tournament just a couple weeks ago, defended his crown, won millions of dollars, big smile, walks off the course, and Meredith, his wife, hands him Bennett, the baby, with just this huge poop stain all over the onesie. It's just like, here you go, man. You're back on duty. Let's not forget the number one station in life. And he's just like embracing it joyfully. A few weeks before this, he won the PGA. He walks off. He's literally in the scorer's room. He's signing his scorecard, getting ready to do the whole thing. And he's got Bennett with him on the floor playing with the flag and the hat. And he's like entertaining while he's doing this very official thing to not like, get disqualified from the tournament. Here's Scotty like living this balancing act, living in the tension of this. So I'm gonna throw it to you, Joey, first. Like, man, do you have any moments where you've come home from a shift and your wife Liz has just been like, here you go, dude. Like you're on duty. It's up to you now. I need to tap out for a minute.
Oh my gosh, all the time. And it's funny because we all have different strengths as parents, right? And so as a father, my strengths, and it's a conversation my wife and I have pretty regularly, is like, when I come home, where can I be the most effective?
Mhm.
And feeding our newborn or 6 month old is not where I'm the most effective. But before I went to business school, I went to culinary school. So sometimes I'll roll home and it's just like an episode of Chopped, right? Where it's like we've got like a basket and there's hidden ingredients in there and no one's eating dinner and there is no plan. And so I'll definitely roll home and figure that out and make that happen. But yeah, oh my gosh, all the time.
So I love that. I love that kind of the lesson there of, all right, I have certain things that I know I can do really well where I can add the most value at home. Lee, what's your role at home when you can add the most value there?
I think, like Joey might have said, I'm the Swiss Army knife. It depends the day. Oh, sometimes I need to be another Uber driver for the family. Sometimes it's just corralling the kids. If Davis just needs support, she's been engaged for a long time, and we're in a season right now where the two at home are high school. They're pretty self sufficient, but they don't always do what they need to do at the right time. And Davis needs support. She needs me to lead. And so, just me thinking, I've always got to have gas in the tank. When I come home, I can't leave it all at work, all my best. I've got to have a little bit in reserve. So when enough in reserve so that I can do and I'm sure what we all think is our most important role is being a dad. But if I have just stretched to the point of where I'm exhausted and I come and, lay down on the sofa, I can't do that. I've got to engage and I'm similar to Joey in this. I'm jumping in and where can I help?
Yeah. Mike, I got one for you, and then I'm gonna throw it over to Ben.
Okay.
Mike, you got some younger kids, and you got this big career, man. Like, you're in this building this kind of real estate business, and you're one of the founders of that, one of the leaders in that organization, and so you were headlong into your career path before having kids. What about how has being a father, how has that shifted and changed the ways you're showing up at work?
Yeah, I would say it has been a really, really big change. It is so interesting because my colleagues, the other leaders in our firm, are older than me. So I'm kind of like a 5 to 10 year age gap drop lower than them. And so I've witnessed all of them they all became dads before I was. And so I remember seeing them and, they're having to leave earlier to go do sports stuff or do this. And I'm like, hold on, y'all, like we're building a company. Where y'all going? And now I'm in the phase where, I've got people on my team and they're trying to like coordinate around my schedule and figure out how we can connect and all that sort of stuff. And so it's created the need for me from a work standpoint to just be a lot more efficient with my time. I think that I had a lot more margin for error before I had little people running around my house. But now when I'm at work, I really do try to be as efficient and locked in as I possibly can. Because I really, really value being able to get home in the evenings, try to have dinner with kids. And they play with each other so much, I have to really lean in to kind of engage them, or they'll just play without me or do whatever. And so that's probably been the biggest change, is actually kind of being sort of loaded down with two kiddos in tow has actually, I think, made me, drive straighter as when I'm at work and more efficient.
Yeah, that's good. I think that there's that tension that we all experience between I want to be fully present at home, but I also want to be completely productive at work. And
Yeah.
so that tension at times, we manage that tension really well. At times we manage it really poorly. And I think every dad has that experience, right? And sometimes it's week to week, sometimes it's day to day. Like Tuesday I was great, Wednesday I failed miserably. There's that constant, and we called it the balancing act when we're talking about this. And so, Joey, how do you manage that tension of uh, how do I stay fully present at home with the kids and continue to stay productive at work? You're doing so many different things and you've got your hands in lots of things. Joey's a runner. He's always running, like he's staying fit, he's staying healthy. You're doing so many good things to care for yourself, but you're just managing all of that well. How do you do all of that? What does that look like for you?
You know, I took a lot of notes on this kind of in preparation, and because I want to be concise, and so I'm going to be, I promise. Um, this is a big question, right? Because I could give you the answer that made me nauseous even thinking about saying, of like really good work-life boundaries. But like that makes me want to puke a little bit, even saying that, because this is what I came to, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I actually talked about it with my wife this morning in like extensive detail. I think work life, or like drawing boundaries. Again, I don't want to. Everyone has a method. My method is that feels like I'm vilifying my work when I do that. When
Mhm.
I say I'm drawing boundaries, then now what I'm saying is that is not a part of this, and that is attacking this. And I think that's not a good way to live life personally.
Yeah.
So what I have done is said that there is no such thing as work-life balance. That is not a thing for me. Again, because the other gentlemen here are way wiser than me. And I'm sure they're going to come in here and be like, here's where you're wrong. But there is no work-life balance for me. Instead, what I've done is on the front end, right? We're leaders, we're entrepreneurs, we're innovators. We are starting things and we're casting vision. This is our strength. And it just depends on where you start. Where are you starting with your vision? Where are you casting that vision? Are you casting it at work and then coming home and then trying to make ends meet and reacting to life? And that's not what I do. So I sit down with my wife, we cast vision together, and my work is a tool to make the vision that we have as a family happen. And so work is always going to have seasons. Parenthood is going to have seasons. They're actually quite similar. Having a baby, having a kid, having a teenager, it's like having a small business. It's constantly changing. There's new problems. As soon as you get one figured out, then they do something else, right? Now they're crawling. Now they're grabbing stuff off the counter, and now they're texting boys, right? There's just it's like the problems never end, and the opportunities never cease. But for me, I wrote down this: build the business your family needs, and recognize that there's going to be seasonality both in family, where you have to be home more, and you're going to have seasonality in business where you have to be working more. And recognizing that that's a reality and communicating with your spouse is kind of what I have done. So I might be working more than a lot of people do, but it's for the glory and the excitement of the legacy we're building with my family. It's not about an ego that I have for my business. And if the business fails, then it was a tool that we were trying to use that didn't work for my family. It wasn't the identity has crumbled. It's the story is still being written. So for me, that's how I handle it,
So
and
good, Joey.
that's it.
Yeah, and I think I mean, it's so important to be able to name the seasons and to communicate that with your family. So to be on the same page with your spouse around the season that you're in, to be on the same page with your kids. I mean, even from day to day, like, hey, Tuesday, I've got to really get my head down and get this stuff done at work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time off on Wednesday so that I can, invest here. So it is kind of like a balancing act. And part of that is, I think sometimes our mentality is like, I'm just going to put my head down and be the martyr, and I'm just going to wake up at 3 a.m. or stay up till 4 a.m. or I'm going to sacrifice my own health in the process. And I'm not sure that that's the most productive way to do it either. So Lee, what are some like practices or habits that you've created to help you be more present when you are at home?
Yeah, I think, I agree with you in seasons. If you're in seasons, I'm in a season, in the season when you have young kids versus where we are today. Right now is there's just total chaos in so many ways on the schedule. There is no every day is the same day. And I've had seasons earlier in my life where, here's what happens. You go to work, you do this, you do that. My life is not like that right now. It's a little bit all over the place. And the only thing I've been doing this a little while now. I'm 51, and I've tried a lot of different methods. The method that helps me is making sure I spend time in the morning with Jesus. That quiet time, but over years I've done pretty much four things. I seek Him, seek first, like out of Matthew 6:33, and then remain. Don't just do it and check the box, but remain in Him. John 15. And then I pray very specifically in my prayer life. And then I look for those answers as I pray. So I keep a journal. So I see how He's moving. So that becomes really pretty experiential in how I see the Spirit move. And the fourth thing is I obey quickly when He tells me to do something. And so in doing sort of that rhythm, and I haven't done it every day, but I do it a lot, I will ask the Lord at the beginning of the day, there's more to do than I could even dream about doing today. I'm on nonprofit boards. I'm leading a company. I'm leading my family. I'm in the extended family business. But the question is, Lord, what should I be doing today? And what I find is when I get quiet, when I'm doing those first things, seeking the Lord and remaining in Him and then listening, sometimes there are days that takes 10 minutes. It really does. And then there are days that it takes an hour and a half. Yeah. And to give an hour and a half seems like a lot, but I've watched the most successful seasons of our business is when I am fanatical about that. And so that works for me, of just sitting before the Lord and asking, what would you have me do today?
Yeah. One of the habits that I've created is kind of like a Friday kind of prayer of examine almost around my week and then looking at my next week. So end of day Friday, clearing some time, and then asking myself the question, and this is a question we ask at Banded in our groups. We do it in 30-day intervals, but what I ask is just over the next week. So thinking about the most important roles I have in my life, one of them being a father of each of my three children. What's the most important thing I need to do next week for each of my kids? So I may not get everything done, but I want to get that one thing done with them. And part of that's prayer, right? Because I need discernment. I need the wisdom of the Lord. I need the Holy Spirit's guidance in that. Part of that is, sometimes it's just really easy. I gotta do this. I gotta buy a birthday present. I gotta, whatever that is. Sometimes it's like I gotta take them out for dinner. Sometimes like I gotta have this conversation. There's something different each time. But what is that thing, and how do I make that a practice and not an intention, right? How do I get that on my calendar for the next week so that it's locked in? Mike, you got younger kids. What's been the biggest, like the hardest lesson or the thing that's changed in you as a leader since you've had these two young ones running around?
Yeah, I would say the hardest lesson is just having to face some of my own shortcomings as it relates to just like having empathy. I'd say that, it's really, especially with my first is a little girl, and I know there's a lot of girl dads on here. As she got older, one of the things, just the way God's uniquely wired her, she's very verbal, she's very sensitive, and she could communicate like several years ahead of, her actual age. And so with that, I think I probably treated her like she was older than she actually was, like older than her emotional maturity. And so there were times where I would, get on her about something. And one time, I forgot what she did. She was just being a kid. I don't remember the specifics around it. And I sort of jumped on her a little bit. And she got so discouraged from that experience. And I went to apologize. This is a good time I was being a good dad. I went to apologize and I said, "Sweetie, I am really sorry." She said, "I think I forgot that you were 5 years old." And the next time I actually jumped on her about something, I go to her to apologize again, and she said, "Dad, I think you just forgot, that I was 5 years old." And so being confronted with the need for me at home to be that much more like sensitive and like nurturing and shepherding and empathetic towards her and her heart, I think I need to realize, like, for one, I need it for myself, but when I come to work, I need to bring some of those muscles with me as well in leading my team. Yes, my teammates are all adults and their parents and all that good stuff, but that's still, I think I don't need to pack that stuff as far as my leadership and leave it at the house. It's something I need to bring with me. And so it's been a really significant challenge to continue to do that, because you do need to make hard decisions and those sort of things, but there's still a way to do it with a lot of empathy. And so being a dad, I think, brought that more to the forefront as a gap, but also an opportunity to grow. And hopefully I'm growing in it. Hopefully it's transforming my leadership in some ways.
Mike, you're hitting on some stuff that earlier your answer and just now that I've experienced in my own life. I can remember pre kids in my career, lacking some empathy in hindsight for families. And,
Yeah.
I was working at a church, I was in like youth ministry, and I remember feeling frustrated often. Like, why aren't they here? Why isn't that family at this retreat? Why aren't their kids here this morning? Like, how is this hard? And now like 3 kids, I'm 40 years old, 3 kids in the thick of it. And it's like, dude, it's like getting out the door is hard, like, let alone like nailing all the things and balancing all the schedule. And so have so much more empathy. And I hear you saying, like, me becoming a more empathetic father is actually transforming my leadership at work, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right. And it's made me so much more effective. And it also makes the relationships that much richer and deeper as well, because we can sort of be more of our whole selves in the office, which I think is great.
Yeah. One of the things we say at Bandit in this idea of like knowing ourselves, right? And being aware of what's going on in us is like that awareness is the doorway to transformation. And so, like, an example from my life, man, I have become aware that when this stupid thing is in my hand, right? And one of my kids comes to me, I tend to lack patience. I tend to be quick. Or this thing that I'm looking at, my computer, if my fingers are on the keys or if I have my phone in my hand, I can easily feel like they're the interruption, not the whole point. Not like the whole point of my existence is like raising up these gifts that God has given me, right? And this calling to be a parent to them. And so, but my awareness of that has made me better as a father, and in turn as a leader, because now I know, man, when I have my phone in my hand and I hear that little pitter patter, or I hear the tap, or I feel the tap on my leg, or daddy, 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 I want to show you this. Even if I'm doing something really important, and a lot of times, even when I'm doing something really stupid, like just scrolling or whatever, wasting time, man, putting that thing down, giving my full presence, giving my full attention is transformative to my experience with my children and the way they experience their daddy, right? I saw yesterday on LinkedIn, Brent Beshore said, a lot of us know that name, and Brent just had this really awesome one-liner on LinkedIn, and he said, the greatest toy that a father can give his child is to put his phone down. All of a sudden, instantly, you're the best toy in the toy box to
Wow.
your kid. And
Good.
so, man, Lee, I'll throw it to you and maybe a couple of you guys on this, because Joey, I see you like itching, like I got 1,000 things I want to say there on that. But like, Lee, how have you turned that corner in your life from, okay, kids are not the interruption, they are the point. And yes, I have to work and I have to drive results and I have to really deliver, but I'm going to bring them around that.
Yeah. So I'd say that within about a month ago, I'm doing this new startup and was scheduled a trip out to Oklahoma to see a buddy who is really gifted at helping to frame vision and mission, values, and the company constitution. And I scheduled a trip, and my wife caught wind of it, encouraged me, "Why don't you take Bo with you?" Bo's 18, my 18-year-old son. And so Bo didn't have anything going on. So I bought him a plane ticket. I said, "Bo, just come along for the ride." It was a 24-hour excursion. But Bo got to sit in the room as my buddy who's asking me questions about vision and mission and what do I want for people and the company and things like that. And Bo's able to just absorb and see what I do and what we're creating. So just bringing him along for the ride was a great idea, and I think will be something we'll both remember forever. And then one other quick story. Yesterday, my daughter turned 16, and so I took her. She had an 8 o'clock driving test, and the appointment, there were some logistics that messed up, and she was not able to take her driver's test. And she ended up, as you might imagine, in a puddle of tears. And I was planning to take her to get her driving test, and then, celebrate with her, go home. She would go drive in her car, see a couple of friends. Well, it didn't work out that way. She was crushed. And so I pivoted really quick and said, "You want to go grab breakfast?" We did. And just had sweet conversation. But then after that, I had some meetings, and I said, what are you going to do if I dropped you at home? She said, "I'm going to be home by myself all day." I said, "You want to come with me?" And she said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And it surprised me a lot. But we ended up having a day that I don't think I'll ever forget. I don't think she will either. And it just was bringing them along. It's always age appropriate, but just giving them access to my life, seeing what I do is helpful. And by the way, one other story real quick. When the kids were younger, Davis, my wife, I was running a manufacturing plant. Davis and the kids would come out and they would bake brownies and they would give them to the employees just to build a relationship. And that, again, that's just coming along for the ride. Whatever age and stage you are, I found that to be really helpful.
I love that. Joey, I want to hear from you on this idea of being interruptible. John Tyson, who's one of the leaders I most respect, he talks about having the grace to be an interruptible man, right? What does it mean for you to be an interruptible man and understand that the interruptions are actually, they are not burdens, they are great privileges to carry, right?
That's a great question. And I think while I'm going to share a few things that have been successful, maybe some where I've not been, I'm also still learning in this. So I'm super excited to hear stories from Lee and from Mike and from you guys, because I don't know that I'm ever going to perfect this. And I think it's okay, first and foremost. So if you're out there and you're like, "Man, these guys just got together," I'll be the first one to say, like, I don't have it 100% together. And I will go through periods of time where either I've been going through a lot of stress at work and it's harder for me and that's my problem, or I'm a lot more freed up and flexible and I've spent more time at home because I don't have to. And I don't want to just like keep beating that horse, but you're going to have some seasons. I've had those already that you go through where you're more present at home. Interrupting you is just like, I don't have anything else really going on anyway. And so I'll happily spend time looking at this picture of scribbles, right? So it's like, there's a number of those moments. A couple of things. So parenting, on the parenting side, and then there's like a work side, right? So on the parenting side, I believe real parenting is very intentional, right? This reactionary approach to parenting, where we're like waiting for our kids to come to us on a regular basis. I mean, that's where we've made the first mistake, right? In my opinion, right? So it's like, I'm waiting on the couch for my kids to come to me. And so I do a lot of, now again, that's going to always happen. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying that a lot of my time that I spend with my kids is very intentional. And so I have a 14-year-old, and spending time with a 14-year-old daughter as her dad, it's just different. So if you have daughters, they're not teenagers yet, I'm just telling you, like, it just changes. So her wanting to talk about boys, she doesn't want to talk about boys with me. I will jokingly kind of like nudge her and be like, "So how about that guy?" And she's not super into it. So I have been also wanting to expose her in a very intentional way to push her so she can grow mature, right, as an intentional parent. And one of the ways I've done that is finding TV shows that we can both watch together. And intentionally kind of exposing her to mature content. I think about this for the UFC, Ben. I think it's like so appropriate in so many ways. And this is how I'm gonna, kind of finagle it, right? To make it seem like it is a really good idea to take your kids to the UFC if they're the right age. But I watched through the entire series of Lost with my 14-year-old. She started when she was 13 and 14. And there's a lot of content in there that's like super mature that, she hadn't really been exposed to yet. And things of, everything from like premarital sex to like affairs and murder and drug use and like abuse and stuff that's like I got to now sit with her with a show that was just completely captivating her attention. And between episodes, um, transition a conversation of how crazy that episode just ended into like, how about that like weird relationship there? Oh yeah, I was like, oh, like it allowed us to have some conversations that I would not have been able to have with her otherwise. And I had to really take a creative approach because like, hey, Soph, let's go for a walk and talk about your deep feelings, understandings of relationships. It's just not going to work. At least it didn't for me. So that was one thing. And then again, all the failures I've had. Oh my gosh. Coming home from like a really stressful day. And the only way that I've been able to kind of combat that is recognizing how I'm doing and trying to institute mechanisms where I need backup. Okay. I'm a human. I'm broken. I am not perfect. I'm going to fail. I'm going to let my kids down. One, letting them know that and being very quick to apologize, I think is a very powerful tool we can use as parents. I'm going to make mistakes. And I like to approach them and say, hey, 5-year-old daughter of mine that probably won't actually remember this. Hey, I should have been more present with you when you brought me that picture or that thing you were excited about or that dance move you've been practicing. Um, I should have been better. And then also asking for backup, like I said before, reaching out to my wife on the way home, and I'll say, hey, um, Elizabeth, I'm coming home. I just had a huge project that I dropped. Man, if we could order food or like figure something out, like I just don't want to get caught by the curveball that I'm normally capable of and very happy to of, hey, I need you to cook dinner and the kids are crazy and I need to go take a walk. Can you just deal with it? I don't know that I'm in a really good headspace for that right now. Can you help me? I think that's very appropriate. And having those conversations with your spouse has been very powerful for me. So I don't know if that's super helpful or if that answers your question, but that's the be interruptible. Man, I don't have it perfect, but this is how I try.
Good, man. I think there's a lot there to take away. And I think this notion that communication is really key, like humility is really key. Apologizing when you get it wrong is really key. I love that you mentioned failure. We want to talk about some failures. Actually, I'm curious, Mike and or Lee, is there a time, is there a story, or is there, I guess I'm specifically wondering, like, has there ever been a season where you feel like I'm actually dropping the ball sort of everywhere? Like it feels like I'm failing at work. It feels like I'm failing at home. Or maybe it's that dichotomy of like, man, I feel like I'm so capable at work. I'm leading a team. I'm doing so well. People respect me. They listen. They do what I say. They believe in the vision I'm casting. And I can't get a kid at home to like put their shoes on or to fill out a college application or like, why am I effective here and ineffective here? Or maybe it's vice versa. Can you unpack a little bit of those seasons in your life? And here's what I want to know, like what pulled you up out of those seasons? What kind of helped you pull the rudder up and go like, all right, I'm not totally losing it here.
Yeah, I can jump in on that. I'm actually quite literally coming out of one of those seasons. I mean, I think for me, my last year of my life, call it from May 1 of 24 to like May 1 of 25 was like the hardest year of my life because I previously was a elder at my church in addition to having the young kids, in addition to leading the office team here. And we as a church just kind of went through a leadership crisis. And because of kind of some of the giftings God's given me, a team of elders, there was at one point there was 8 of us, myself and another elder kind of had to sort of take the reins of leading through this process, so to speak, for lack of better terms. And it was just super time consuming. So many evenings, like my kids were not happy about me leaving, at dinner time, right after dinner time, just so many evenings at the church where I was not present at the house. still needing to then come back and do like my day job work. And so just missing a bunch of bedtimes, meal times. And on top of that, I was the weight of all the relationships, and especially when you start talking about the local church, I found myself just almost like disintegrating in a way. I know we kind of use that language in Bandit, just because of the weight of all of it. Like I felt this super strong desire to be this ultra present father and husband. I wanted to be a faithful pastor at my church. I was only in my first year, actually, in my specific leadership role on the executive team at our company. I've been a partner previously, but specifically leading the team. And it was just like, it, to your point, I felt like I was getting pulled in every direction. I wanted to bat 1,000 in every category, and I felt like I wasn't batting 1,000 in any of them. And the reality is, there's a proverb that I'll misquote that, we got some, I think another pastor here. It just basically talks about how like the inexperienced see like danger coming and they keep going. And I could just see over the horizon, what I felt was going to be like destruction for myself, for my wife, for my kids. And I love our church, but I had to just say, I've got to, I'm going to close this chapter, and because I want to transition well and see this process through, but I've got to step away from this to get capacity back for, you kind of talk about family first in Bandit. And so I'm about, a couple of months into that, not even a couple of months, about a month and a half or so into that transition. And I feel like I'm kind of coming back to life a little bit. I'm kind of empty, leaving zombie mode. And I think hopefully my kids and my wife are starting to experience that. But it just, the cost, and even just like looking out into the future, the cost just got too high for me to continue to do that. And so not a perfect season, but yeah, that's my reality.
Dude, thanks for sharing that. I think there's so much practical. There's so many people that are going to see this and they're going, dude, I've been there. I'm there right now. I'm in the midst of that. And what sticks out to me about your story is everything you just talked about was all good things. They were really good things that you could prioritize at any given moment in your life and feel really proud and really God honoring and really like, man, I'm doing the right stuff. And it's like that classic Jim Collins phrase, right? Like, man, good's the enemy of great. And right now, I got to dial in over here. I know I'm not going to elevate anything above this priority and then this one right here. And so, even though this is really good, I'm going to say no to it in this season so that I can elevate these other things and give them. I love what you said. I can get the capacity back, right? That I need to win in these arenas.
Right.
And that's just such an acute lesson that so many of us can constantly apply and reapply and reapply. It's like, what do I need to go reprioritize and what do I need to say no to so that I can really give the gift of to myself and to these people on these teams, my family team, my work team, the most important teams in my life, that I can give myself and them the gift of my full capacity in those arenas. So, dude, thank you for sharing that. Thanks for your humility on that. Lee, tell us about a kind of quickly, like a failure season in your life, man.
I was wanting to jump in because I'm listening to Mike going, oh my gosh, you reminded me of so many things. I'm just, again, just over 50 right now, and I have stories from now, but in so many ways, I'm a product of so many failures up to right now, and including just juggling too much, trying to be Superman, trying to be the super husband, super employee / boss, the super nonprofit guy, the super dad, the super just everything. And it's a hard lesson. It ended up in the hospital just because I was doing so much and my body shut down by my mid 30s. And so it's just, I've had to learn that experience twice of everything is not equal and you need to choose what's most important. And so having the wisdom, and Luke, you were just talking about having that wisdom to what is most important, what do I need to give, and understanding your why, where I have been spiritually, and then as a dad and a husband. And I'll say at the beginning of this, when I was juggling too much, I was leaving the house at 7 a.m. I was getting back at 6 p.m. My oldest was in a crib was, 6 months. And my wife looked at me and she said, "You recognize you only see your daughter except when she's sleeping." And that was a whoa. And so I just thought, well, this is the only way you crush life is working before the sun comes up, when it goes down, and then kissing your wife and this and that. But it was like, no, you can do it different and being intentional. And so that was a major failure. And I'm just grateful I'm still here and have been learning on some of that. But a health challenge, literally, my body shut down twice. The other thing that, again, is just trying to do too much, more than what I was called to do. I had a buddy grab both of my shoulders. Talk about bandit, just running with a band of brothers. A buddy grabbed both shoulders and said, "Hey, man, your house is burning down and you need to wake up. Choose what is most important." And it was those two conversations I remember shifted me. They were just headed down a bad path. I wasn't doing bad stuff. It was good stuff, but it was inappropriate. I was trying to do too much than I was made to do. So,
Wow. Man, Lee, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. And you hit on so many things there that I just want to like calmly sit in that moment for a second. And anyone that might watch this or see this later, like oftentimes what happens is we think what all those things that you thought, this is the only way to win. This is the only way to succeed. This is what I'm going to define success like this and pursue it at all costs. And I'll put things on the altar, and maybe not even consciously, but subconsciously put things on the altar that, man, I would not be normally willing to do. Right. And then I fool myself into going, well, I'm the only one like this. I'm alone in this. And then you have that good, godly friend that shakes you by the shoulders, right? Or you realize, holy cow, I do have a band of people around me. We believe at Banded, like we believe like you are your best as a father in community, right? I mean, I was with a bunch of guys last night hanging out at my buddy Joel's house. Towards the end of the night, I was like, hey, I got to unpack a father scenario with you guys. I had a really kind of big conversation with my 10-year-old daughter. And I was just like, dude, I'm on the precipice of some stuff that is new territory for me, guys, and just unpacked it. And we are just
right.
talking. And so, man, I felt better in that moment because of the community around me. So I just want to like say to anyone, like, you're not alone. And a lot of people are feeling this stuff. And man, a lot of people are going like into the hospital. A lot of people are going like, man, I had an anxiety attack. I found myself on the floor going, what happened? Right. Man, I had a guy reach out to me recently, one of my best friends, and he goes, dude, life feels impossible. He just reached out to me, Luke, life feels impossible right now. Like, what do you mean? He's like, there's just this tension of things. I don't know how to figure it out. I don't know how to balance it. I got to make more money. I got to be more present with my family. I got to grow spiritually. I got to stay in shape. I got to be a better dad. I got to be a better husband. I need to do these things to kind of grow in my inner life. I got to make sure my kids have the right friends and aren't on screen time a lot. I want to coach
Yeah.
their sport teams. I got to help them grow. He's like, it's literally an endless list of things. And he goes, I don't even know how peace is possible in 2025, raising a family of this size, trying to make the kind of money I need to make to provide the kind of life that I want and also be present.
Yeah.
And to be frank, I didn't have a great answer other than me too, bro. Like I feel you on that. And let's figure it out together. Let's lean in together. And so, man, that's real stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Hey Joey, I wanted to ask you because I know a little bit about how you run some things in your family. Like I want to get to some practice. We only have a few minutes left, guys. So I want to like really practical stuff, really quick stuff. Joe, you lead family meetings in a really unique way where you flip out the tripod and the white chart and like do the whole thing. Like, why do you do it? How often do you do it? And how do you like knock those out in your household?
So it really, my wife and I decided that, my core focus as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, as a creative is our family is our core, right? And so we have these amazing tools, these businesses to get us where we want to go. And so the meetings, right? My board is me and my wife. And so what are we doing? How is this business? If we have to prune things, we prune them. But it does leak into everything else. And so we have some major formalities in our family, one of which being that when bedtime's not going so well, our kids all sit up on the couch and I bust out the flip chart and we talk about all the ways that we are, maybe underperforming and could be, increasing capacity at bedtime as our, age.
KPIs for bedtime. I love it.
Yeah. So we do have those sorts of discussions. I believe those are actually valuable, and I want to make a case for it quickly. I think having a ceremony, parents out there, of we are doing this now. It's the same thing in business, guys. Like we have the same thing in business where if we don't have a like ceremonious kind of like this is what we're doing now in our business, then those expectations aren't true. They're not the kind of new kind of rolled out protocol that your staff should be aligning to. Same thing for your kids. And they operate that way. I don't want to hold my kids to a standard that haven't been really official. It makes a lot of sense. It eases a lot of burden. Also, quick tip is like your wife is struggling and you sit your whole family down for a family meeting that you like have thought through, planned, articulated thoughts, what kind of the strategy is going forward. It really shows your wife how much you care about the things that she's dealing with every single day. My wife stays home. So in that reality, it's a big deal. And it shows my wife, who I have to communicate with as a COO, right? Of like, hey, here's what we're working on. How can I ensure that we roll out this new thing? It's going to be powerful. So that's the first thing. When we dream and cast vision for our family, we identified a guiding principle that we want to be true for our family. And for our kids, we named it. It's called, we want our kids to be wildly capable. And it's kind of generic, but it's also so much more powerful than that, because wildly capable for us, as we define it, means it's a mindset shift. We are proactively taking on parenthood. We are not reacting to things as they come. Every challenge is an opportunity for us to engage with our children differently. And everything from birth defects with a child that we attacked in a proactive way, to health challenges, to maturity with our 14-year-old, to babies that are developing and growing, and what are their challenges, right? So it could be formula adjustments, to breastfeeding, to dietary changes, to lip and tongue tie revisions, to chiropractic appointments, we're attacking the whole kind of aura of our children. And we have regular meetings, my wife and I, to discuss how are we ensuring our kids are become wildly capable. Anyhow, that being said, birthdays became a conversation, because birthdays for us, our 13-year-old turned 13 a year or two ago, and we wanted it to be just a big freaking deal, right? She's turning 13. It's so what are we gonna do? Well, we booked Boca, which is in Cincinnati, a nice, beautiful restaurant. We bought her nice clothes. It was like, and then by the end of it, it was an amazing experience. Of course, we realized we were spending money to create this experience for Sophie. And we wanted to change that and say, what can we do to really cement this year for our kids and also help them become wildly capable, aligning to that mission? The spending the money wasn't doing it. Therefore, we identified this objective being, how do we get our kids to make epic accomplishments on their birthdays? Change the script, right? And my 4-year-old was turning 5, and so this was the opportunity. And we said, Ray, what do you want to do for your birthday? She came to me. She said, I want to go on tour. And kind of long story short, I reached out to my older brother, who's the senior pastor here at a I'd say mid-sized church in Cincinnati, and booked the stage, invited a big group of people. My wife, who was a dancer in a previous life, helped my daughter choreograph dances to 2 songs. She practiced them and did a bunch of rehearsals. We set up a green room for her, and she did a full-on performance at that church in front of a crowd. And she was, prior to the event, I mean, shivering in the green room with nerves and anxiety. But at the end of it, man, I'm even just getting emotional thinking about it. It didn't cost me a whole lot of money, but it was a whole lot of time and effort and energy. But man, she is a different human today because she had that accomplishment. So epic birthdays, epic accomplishments is our new kind of motto for birthdays, and that's what we're going to be doing.
I love the wildly capable, Joey.
Yeah.
I think that relates really well to the parents of older children. Amen to that. We would love for you to be capable, even just maybe not wildly, but just a little more capable would be great. If you're watching this, one of the things that we do at Banded is, as we wrap up our meetings, we talk about over the next 30 days, what's the most important thing that you can be doing in each of your roles? And so if you're watching, I'm assuming you're a father. And so I would just ask you to think about, hey, what's the one thing that is a practice, not intention, something I can put on the calendar? Not, I want to spend more time with my second son, but this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take him and I'm going to work out with him. I'm going to go and spend time at the gym with him. And I'm going to do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the next month. And I'm going to put it on my calendar. I think the most important documents we have as Christians are our calendars and our checkbook. That proves how we spend our time and how we spend our money, proves what's valuable to us. And if you're a business owner, we know that your time is a really precious commodity. And so getting out in front of it, thinking through what's the one thing that really matters for my kids and plugging that into your calendar is really important. So Joey and Lee and Mike, thanks so much. Like, I'm walking away thinking through, okay, for each of my kids, I've got some practicals now that I want to, mark down and step into with them, feeling encouraged. And there is so much power in just that me too, right? Oh, you're experiencing that too? I'm not the only dad that feels this way. That's one of the reasons why we think Bandit is so valuable, of having a group of people who are in the same stage of life as you, who have a shared faith, shared ambition, and shared experiences, and are each urging each other on and pushing each other to become the best fathers and husbands and business leaders that we possibly can. And that really, really matters.
Great. Loved it. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, guys. Hey, thanks for being a part of this. And hey, as we close, I just want to tap onto what Ben just said. If you're sitting here and you're going, all right, give me more. First of all, I'd say, like, when this video is done, it's going to be shareable. Pipe this out to your dad friends. Pipe it out to others. Let folks kind of see this that you think might encourage them. Maybe that's one of the things you're writing down right now as your practical takeaway, is like, I'm going to send this to my buddy Jeff, who's like, man, he needs to see this right now. I wish he was watching. Send it to him. And then secondly, if you're sitting there going, man, I need some of that community. I need to understand some of this stuff more. I need to process this kind of stuff with others. What we're fighting for at Bandit is spaces where all of these issues can be discussed amongst peers. Said it earlier at the beginning, like, we all have environments where we get to talk about some of this stuff. Like, maybe it's like my church small group and I can talk about kind of my spiritual life, or I get to talk a little bit about family and relational dynamics, but I don't really talk about work because I don't really have a lot of like business owner friends over there. And we just kind of like, I take that hat off and I don't really get to engage my vocational self. I go to my industry stuff. Mike's at the real estate stuff, or he's going to the things right in his world, but he's probably never really talking much about family over there. Right. I experience this a lot with entrepreneurs where they're going, oh man, I'll just give the company line over here. Oh, things are good. And they're not good. Like Lee said, dude, the house is burning down, but I'm not telling anyone that. So what if you had a space where you could say that, where you could go, I don't know, guys, I'm feeling some flames and it's I need some help. I need to process this. And so it's what Bandit's all about. And a really practical call to action for you if you're interested and curious and want to dig in a little more. First of all, we're going to be doing these roundtables every month, conversations like this with Bandit members and or guests to kind of come on and just share practical takeaways. This is not like experts and these guys are great, but like we're all in the trenches. And so tap into these things monthly. And then we have a call we do every 2 weeks. We call it Discover Bandit. And man, we just tell people about Bandit. Ben and I hop on a Zoom call, and whoever shows up, we tell them a little about Bandit and let them learn more. And so there's hopefully a Bandit group in your city or coming to your city soon. Maybe you're sitting here going, I need to lead one of these. Awesome. Let's have that conversation. That's something we can talk about too. So we're thrilled about this. Thank you to all you that jumped on. If you happen to stumble across this, man, welcome. You're not alone. We're really glad you came and you got to experience some of this with us. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next month for another roundtable.